Good day to friends, family, and strangers alike, and welcome back to Second Cup. I'm your host, Tim Heller. Today's guest is the one and only Ray Heller. Ray is VP of Sales and Marketing for a medical device startup, the world's most dedicated soccer fan, a friend to all, and also happens to be my dad. A quick note before we jump in, if you've been listening to the show and want to support us, there are 3 ways to do so. First is by sharing episode links on social media and tagging @TimHellerCreative. Second is by rating and leaving reviews in Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening and watching. And finally, if you want to support us financially, you can Venmo @TimHellerCreative. All funds will be used to improve the show and provide the best experience for guests and listeners alike. Now, top off your beverage, get comfy, and enjoy this episode of Second Cup. How are you feeling?
I'm good.
Yeah? I know you get nervous for speaking in public, so I appreciate you overcoming that and jumping on with me today. I'm really excited.
I love it, and I just, what am I going to say? So that whole thing, but I'm good because it's you. And I got one of my favorite shirts on.
Yes, he's wearing a Texas State dad shirt. And
yes.
Just a wonderful example of how supportive you have been always. I was going to try to lead with the joke of like, so Dad, how disappointed were you when you found out that your son wanted to go into musical theater for his degree? And you beat me to the punch already by wearing the shirt, supporting it. So, well, how are you this morning? What are you drinking?
Awesome. I am drinking some very special coffee. / merchandise. Look at that.
No way.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh. Y'all, I knew Mom was up to something. She's like, oh, hey, can I just have some of like the digital assets that you created for your show? And I was like, yeah, sure. And she's like, I'm working on something. I was like, okay, whatever. That is so stinking cool.
I know.
For everybody who's listening and not watching, it's a Second Cup with my dad, Ray Heller, who is our wonderful guest this morning, and my company logo and his episode face. And I may need to start sending these out as thank yous to people for coming on the show. That is really, really cool.
Yeah, I know. Mom did it. That's awesome. I know. It's really
It's such
sweet.
A wonderful surprise.
Yeah. Yeah, her goal was to have this cup be sent to you as well, but they mixed up the order. So
that's okay. Well, that will it'll have to be my second cup now. We'll have to get some official merch.
I know. I think a new revenue stream. Here.
Well, I would love just if you can introduce yourself to everybody, because of course I know you very well, and you are very well known and loved in my community of friends and people. But can you just introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about like who you are, what you do, and where you are.
Okay. Well, good morning, everybody, to all Tim's listeners out there. So born and raised in Chicago. Long story short, in my career, I have been in medical device for over 30 years. And worked for large Fortune 500 companies, but my love and passion is working for startup companies. And just the unity of the people and the lack of politics is endearing. It drives my passion. It fuels my heart. Little successes are celebrated every day. And I think that's really the way work should be anyway. So,
and that's a pinnacle of who Ray Heller is celebrating all the little successes.
Yeah.
Growing up, like playing soccer in the backyard, one kick. Oh, good job, Tim. Good job, Annie. That was a great kick. Kevin, great work. Oh my gosh.
I know. It was positive reinforcement. They say that it works better to deliver 5 to 7 positive things and for every one critical aspect.
I love it. Well, you and Mom fucking crushed that. It was nothing but positivity.
Yeah. And, to your other point, I'm in Island Lake, Illinois.
Yes.
Sounds exotic, and it is exotic. It's western suburb, far west suburb of Chicago and moved here about a year ago. And my wife and I live on a lake. Tim's
Yes.
mom and I live on a lake.
Finally.
Yeah,
And it's
our dream come true.
It's been a long time coming, and so deserved. And I know Jess and I and Kevin and Annie and Patrick are all really, really excited that you guys finally have the house that you deserve.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, actually, speaking of the circle, so we live in this community, 24 homes around a lake. And the other day we were with some friends and they had noticed the sticker on the back of my car, and it's the symbol for the Bobcats.
Yeah.
And they knew Texas State Bobcats, and they even knew the
eat 'em up,
hand
the
signal.
hand that's
Yeah.
like a Texas. This is not a gun.
Yeah.
It's the state of Texas.
Yeah. 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 And then the little claw.
And the little claw,
so,
yeah.
So that was really endearing.
That's awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on today, Dad. I have been really looking forward to this and was really, I mean, as we have stated, you and Mom both have been always so incredibly supportive of whatever the three of your kids are doing and our significant others. And so I just really appreciate you coming on and willing to put yourself out there in a new way.
Yeah.
The two things that are on the docket today are two of our favorite things, which is soccer and sobriety. So
Yes.
I would love to have you kick it off with, let's talk about soccer first, just because that is it's such an integral part of how we grew up, and is that we really didn't have a choice whether or not we liked soccer. And we also didn't have a choice whether or not we liked the White Sox. And living in the northern suburbs with all of our friends being Cubs fans, it was really alienating, really emotionally I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But soccer is a really integral and important part of our life, and I want you to tell us why.
Yeah, football is life, Ted Lasso, I've been living that spirit for the past 46 years that I've been playing. And I think, it's funny you mentioned it, but I think there's a tie-in to musical theater and music, because remember when we lived in California, we'd take you to the games and we'd play, what was it, NSYNC or Backstreet Boys going to the game?
Oh, yeah.
What was the song?
So
I just
loud.
remember.
The larger than life, I think, because it starts with a, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
bow now, bow now.
And I had it cranked as we
You
pulled
did.
into the parking lot. And,
Cranked with zero rhythm, no sense of finding the beat, but you were just fully committed to pumping us up.
Yeah. So I think, I loved the game growing up. It just opened the doors. For me, it opened the doors to the world and so many different nationalities. Growing up, I played on a Polish team and a German team. And then really then when I took an internship to Egypt in college, I played soccer by the Sphinx, the pyramids and the Sphinx. I played soccer with the local people. And I'm like, it's such a connector, and it's always been a connector throughout my whole life, wherever I traveled. And actually, it happened again recently.
Of course it did.
When I was traveling to Denver, and I met I'm talking to surgeons, and I met the surgeon. It turned out we played pickup soccer together in Madison, Wisconsin. And, and it was it was what he brought up. I didn't bring it up. He brought it up and said he loved football, soccer. So, it just keeps on giving, so.
Yeah. And that sentiment of something that Jess has made fun of me for, but also just been kind of like in awe, and her family, and really most people that we talk to and come into contact with, they're like, wherever the Hellers go, they know somebody. How is that? Why is that? And I feel like that really started maybe with your dad as well, because I know that he was similar. But that it's just that that painful Midwesternism of of just going and talking to people or just going and playing soccer. And whenever you'd go on business trips, we would receive those pictures of, we'd say, hey, how's the trip going, Dad? Or we'd talk to you on the phone when we were little. It's like, oh, it was great. I met these people. I just played soccer for 2 hours, scored 4 goals. And it wasn't anything about work. It was all about, I met these really great people and I buried them in soccer.
I told you how much I got buried, right?
Yeah. You come home, get off the plane limping, and
yeah. And thanks for bringing Grandpa into that. My dad, yeah, you're right. He had the uncanny ability to speak to anybody, open to anybody at any time, any nationality. So that was my role model. I mean, he really was all about positivity and really helped people find jobs. And I know when he passed and at his funeral, there was a huge line of probably over 400 people that passed through there. And it seemed like everybody had spoke to him in the prior 2 weeks because he always took people's phone calls. And so, so that's something I still try to live up to. Is
it's something that
that caliber.
You have absolutely carried on that legacy and passed that down. And I'm trying to do what I can to continue to step into those huge shoes of just trying to do that. And I so admire that the way that you take care of people, you and Mom both. And here we go. But the level of tenderness that you show towards people who need help with anything, whether it's our friends, our family, your brothers, anybody who needs help with something, you are always saying yes, regardless of past experiences, regardless of being burned by people. You are always there to say, yes, I can absolutely help you. Let me dig into my network and connect you with somebody that I know that may be able to help you out or provide an opportunity for you to find another job or whatever that looks like. And you and Mom have really fostered an open door community of that. Your door is always open. And now that you have this house that you so well deserve and that you guys have dreamed of, this is like the first week I feel like it's been empty in the past year, that it's just been you and Mom and not one of us or cousins or family or friends or somebody coming through who just needs a bed to sleep on for a night or whatever it is. But
actually turns out we have people coming today. They're staying for the night. My future son-in-law is coming with his dad and family.
Oh, sweet. Oh my gosh. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we're doing a big birthday celebration with all of them. So it's really sweet. We get to see them again because they came here a year ago when we moved in.
Yeah, they helped you paint the inside of the house, right?
Yeah. So a shout out to Larry and Julie and Jerry coming to our house. So, but yeah, you got me. I got a little teary-eyed just thinking about that connection to Grandpa, but then also Grandma's been a huge role model of resilience. So I think those two things growing up were powerful to see, and
both of them just orphans and growing up in Chicago as orphans in a Catholic orphanage, which is talk about building really resilience. Incredible.
Yeah, the resilience and just the keep on picking themselves up. Had literally nobody except for my mom lived with an aunt who we think was like 94 years old in a studio apartment after she left the orphanage at the age of 18. And so she just plows through things, knows to do the next right thing, She just always has that moral compass. So, but and then I think, where did soccer go? Where did
it bled into that building community and and we got emotional. But I mean, I think that all of that wraps up into that being able to go out and just talk to people and really being open to everybody and remembering everybody, even as terrible with names as you are. You are, you still, like, everybody knows and remembers you because you are so open and welcoming and funny, and you don't take yourself too seriously. And I feel like, all of that. And I mean, I've experienced that just with soccer, especially through the pandemic, with connecting with new clients who have become friends overseas. And just connecting on soccer and being able to just razz each other about it or commiserate over our clubs losing or talking about trades or whatever it is. But it really creates a genuinely global community. I think is so special.
It's really powerful. So powerful. So
I feel like unlocking to that, being so open and honest. How do you feel like that? Do you feel like you were like that even like all the way? I mean, I imagine that you've been like this since you were a little kid, but how do you feel like sobriety has increased or amplified these parts of your personality?
yeah, so I think that what sobriety has done is kind of released all the demons, and I can live more in the moment, less judgmentally, as much as I can. I think it's still, everyday challenge, but I think it's really, um, it made me live in the moment and appreciate. And it's actually to hit home on the point of living in the moment. I've said that to one of my coworkers, that hey, this is a moment. We got to recognize that this is a moment for us of achievement. So again, celebrating the moment. But I think it's sobriety's led me to analyze my own shortcomings, essentially, and clean up my side of the street. You can control yourself, and others you can love. You can't change everybody else. And for a while, I thought that I could. I thought part of me helping others was how can I help them change and be better? But ultimately, it's now become, how can I just provide a comfortable place for them to be who they are, and just accept them where they're at. So, I think there's so much that sobriety has brought for me as far as confidence and not being so worried about tomorrow as much as I can do that. I still get nervous and all of that, but I think that it's really helped with so many aspects of my life. So.
And how long have you been sober now? Because for people who don't know you or me or people who may be strangers, it's, I've never known you drinking. I've never seen you drink alcohol. I mean, it may be as a very young baby, but you've been sober since before I was truly sentient.
Yeah, since 1994. So 28 years. Yeah, 28 years now. And it's funny because, for a while I was, counting the years or the months or the days, especially early sobriety. But now it's as much about that like the time, but I really think it's the day to day that, it's a slow journey, and it's your own. I think everybody has their own. And there was a time when I thought, well, you better do this, this, and this, but now no longer. There's many paths to this, although every person that has a problem with drinking, drugs, or mental health, it seems to be a similar journey of ups and downs, and ultimately finding the time in your life when you really need to seek help from others.
Yeah.
So,
and that's
and that's a courageous point. That's just a courageous moment when you stand up and say, hey, I can do this. But at the time, I thought it was weak. I thought I was being very weak, because I couldn't handle the drinking.
Do you feel like the stigma around being sober and your ability to talk about it, or like the level of it being taboo, especially in the sales world and a more corporate world, how has that evolved since 1994 in your experience?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Boy, that makes me think of Ike Hasagawa, who was a mentor to me. He was based in Tokyo, worked for major companies. And when I first stopped drinking, I saw him and I told him, I said, because every time I'd be in Tokyo, we'd go out and drink. And that was the way you connected, or the Japanese connected with you. And he said, well, I think we should just tell them that you have a heart condition. So that's what I did, and it worked. So I used that with others. But so there was this taboo of weakness, and, to the point that a lot of countries, when I traveled there, they wanted to get you drunk and then, wake you up early the next morning, and you'd work a 12-hour day with the company you're working with. And it would, you'd be exhausted. And that's when they would start asking the hard questions about, maybe taking advantage of you from a business perspective. So I think it became a real challenge. And then when I stopped drinking, they couldn't do that. So, it cleared it up for me. But there was a stigmatism around it. And now I think there's so many things that are openly talked about that it's gone away. My comfort is level. So I'll respect, I'm at a more comfortable level. But I think that, for those that are just newly, stopping to drink, I think it can be a challenge still to this day, because there is a lot of emphasis on social, business, and the drink.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I feel so fortunate that you have been so open with us about sobriety and drinking and what that is, and really opened the door for Kevin and I both to be able to say, you know what, this is a problem for us. We're gonna stop, or we need to stop, or we need help, or don't want to do this anymore. And what you said about it really being an individual journey for each person who's experiencing it and going through it. We've had several conversations about this, about going through AA, and how for my brother, it is awesome, and it is where he finds so much light and community and levity, which I think we're breaking a rule of AA of making him not anonymous anymore, but also, like, that's okay. And then for you and I, talking about how you recently went through the 12 steps again and found a lot of value in it. And then also at the end of it, realized, you know what, AA is not, it's not providing that same light that it is for Kevin. And in our conversation, I said, I realized that when I stopped drinking last September, I was going to AA because I knew that was a right thing to do. And then I realized, and I was finding value in it, but then I realized that after a month of going to meetings, that I was really only showing up to show other people that I was doing something about this. And the reason why I stopped drinking wasn't for anybody else. It was for me. And that really doing this performative showing up to meetings was really more damaging than helpful to me. And I'm not ignorant enough to think that I will never need AA or never seek it out. I have the big book on my nightstand, and I read it, and it's an incredible place for people, but it also is not the only way to live sober, or to get sober, or to stay sober.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that's where I really learned that it's your own journey. And I think even though I stopped drinking in 1994, I started going to meetings for the first 5 years, and then it kind of tapered off, and then I felt like I needed it again. And it was there for me, and it's just a powerful force AA is. And so I encourage people to at least seek that out, but it's like you said, it's your own path. And I've just, I think I appreciate that we were able to talk about it too. And this point, I feel like I got to bring in Grandpa, because he was so impactful to me. I got sober in 94, and then he passed away in 96. But during those 2 years, he really was there for me. Mm-hmm. And so, and it's really odd that one of the, juxtapositions here is that I thought growing up with a sober dad that I was then immune from getting, the disease of addiction, alcoholism, that's what I thought. So I could drink, right? So, and then sure enough,
I thought the same thing. I was like, I wanted so bad. And I was telling Jess that the reason why, like, there's definitely a lot of guilt when I got sober, because I was like, why didn't I just do this sooner? And it would have just made Jess feel so much better, so much earlier, caused so much less worry for other people. And I hit it really, really well, I feel like, to most people. But It was that I wanted so badly to not have alcoholism be part of my story. But in fighting it, it made my problem so much worse.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. That's so well said, Tim. And I feel the same way. I fought it. But I remember the day I stopped, I told, my group of 5 friends, which
Yeah.
most of it, and they were like, it's about fucking time. So, I love those guys. That's awesome that they said that. It was acceptance right away because they're like, thank you.
Oh my God. Good. You're driving when we go out tonight.
Yeah, totally. And I love that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one thing that I really appreciate around people that learn that I'm sober, or friends that I've gone drinking with. And that was like one of the things that we did. But then we go out for dinner and they're like, I didn't know if it was okay if I can drink. I'm like, are you kidding? Fucking send it. Have a great time. I'm driving. Like, just because I'm sober doesn't mean I don't want to like not do stuff and not have fun and not dance and party and all this stuff. Like, don't be an asshole, but like, let's go out. Let's have fun.
Yeah, I know it's a weird thing because now when, like work over the past, I don't know, maybe pre-pandemic when I go out with people, they're like, wow, Ray, you were just having a blast and you're meeting all those people. Were you drinking? And in a weird way, that's a compliment.
Yeah, Jess has said,
No, I didn't drink.
Jess has told me, she's like, you've become an even more concentrated version of yourself since you stopped drinking. And I think you've gotten weirder. Yeah. Your mother says that I've become more Ray as I've gotten older. So yeah,
I correlate that to being more sober. Yeah.
Well, Dad, thank you so much. This is, I really feel like we could talk about this stuff forever, and we've talked about it a lot together. And thank you so much for being vulnerable and for coming on and being uncomfortable and facing that. You've done a great job. And I love you so much. And thank you so much for being open and teaching us to keep the door open for others and to help others out and to love the beautiful game of football.
Yes.
Football is life.
Don't forget about your merchandise.
Yes, a shameless plug. The merch isn't live on the site yet, but you'll be able to find it soon at www.timhellercreative.com. I have 4 questions for you. I want really short answers, whatever comes to your top of mind first. Ready? Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
What is a piece of content that you are consuming right now?
The Book Thief.
Say that again.
The Book Thief. And it's a book about during World War II, and it's about an 11-year-old girl in Nazi Germany and how the war is revealing itself and how evil Adolf Hitler was. It's fascinating.
You can only watch one soccer league for the rest of your life. Which league is it?
Premier League, without a doubt. Toughest league in the world.
Great. You can only have pizza one more time. What's on it and where it's from?
Oh, I've thought about this. It would be Pizza Palace in Elmhurst because that's what I grew up with. I love it. It's thin crust, contrary to Chicago, but it would then be Lou Malnati's without a doubt. And it would have sausage crumbles, not the sausage patty, and possibly spinach and maybe one slice with pepperoni.
Ooh, just one. Just a whisper of pep.
Yeah, a whisper.
A whisper. Well, Dad, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. And I'm really, really excited to have you on. And hopefully I will have you on again shortly with wherever this goes.
Thank
I love you.
Thank you. Love you. Bye. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Second Cup featuring my dad, Ray Heller. If you'd like to connect with Ray and talk about soccer or learn more about his startup, follow him on Instagram at Helzy14, that's HELLZY14, and connect with him on LinkedIn. He will genuinely talk to anyone about anything for any amount of time. So, buyer beware and have fun. This show is recorded and produced by Tim Heller Creative, LLC. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so in a few different ways. First is by sharing episode links on social media and tagging @TimHellerCreative. Second is by rating and leaving reviews on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening and watching. If you want to support financially, you can Venmo @TimHellerCreative, or if you're a small or large business and would like to sponsor the show, reach out to Tim at TimHellerCreative.com and we can chat to see if we're a good fit. Tune in next time for another incredible conversation and hopefully to learn something new from a really cool person. Bye!